Welcome to R.S.V.P. Listen to the show at your own risk. We will be discussing all taboo subjects like religion, sex, violence, and even politics. You should be ready for controversy, disagreements, face-offs, and maybe some downright rumbles. Well, sit tight and get ready for this week's episode. And by the way, if you're squeamish about obscenities, don't listen to our fucking show!
One. You're live.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. It's Diane Daniels coming to you live right outside of beautiful Tampa, Florida on this Friday afternoon. And it's been a friggin' crazy week around the world. I'll tell you that. It's just crazy around the world. And we're still amidst of the coronavirus, but people are getting out a little bit more, practicing safe distances. Masks are common right now. And then I've got my beautiful co-host, sexy, sultry Miss Bernadette Desmond. How are you doing today, love?
Fantastic, love. I am fired up and ready to roll.
Oh, I bet you are. I bet you are today.
I am. I'm excited about what we're covering today. We're covering a fair bit of stuff today. You know, our little wheel spun on violence. Always such a light topic, right? You know,
very light. A bit of very light.
A bit of violence on a Friday night for you and a Saturday morning for me.
Yeah, we're going to be specifically talking about some circumcisions for men or boys and female circumcision.
Yep.
Do you think that is abuse?
Yeah.
Or do you think
I do.
It's okay? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
We've got different opinions, so we've got a good one for you today.
We do. And I guess the first thing that I want to talk about is like the World Health Organization doesn't talk about female circumcision as female circumcision. They call it like FGM, which is female genital mutilation, which gives it a whole different connotation. But what I want to know from people, and I've been talking to people about this week, is that do you think male circumcision and FGM are both acts of gender violence? And is it both a violation of your actual rights? Because both are performed on infants and or children, obviously without their consent. So it's not about comparing male circumcision to FGM because the differences are absolutely enormous. And I'm going to go through and talk about, it was interesting to me that a lot of people didn't even really know what FGM actually was.
Bernie, I didn't know what the hell SGM was, okay? I mean, don't think you're like some friggin' scientist now, okay? Just because you did some research.
I know, love. But I find that kind of amazing. Like, I find it a bit amazing that, you know, there are a lot of people who don't actually know what it is. I mean, and it's a tradition that's gone back, like, you know, they've traced it right back to Egyptian times. So it's been around a long time. It's outlawed in the majority of countries, particularly Western culture.
But it's still performed. It's still performed
because it's rooted in culture and tradition. And that's kind of the excuse, if you like, for things to be perpetuated. And I guess what they're trying to do is they're trying to change what's happening within these communities and these cultures, because the reasons why they perform it are many and varied, but a lot of the times it's really about, you know, if you cut off the women's external genitalia, then that means that they're less likely to go out and have sex with anybody else. So, you know, it's a form of keeping women sexually controlled. They do it because they think that the woman's genitalia is ugly and unsightly. So therefore, if you cut that off, then it makes it look like they're cleaner and they're more beauty. Like, you know, it's more a beautiful kind of thing. So it's very much ensconced in women's minds too. So even though it's a patriarchal system and it's normally used for like men to control women, the majority of FGMs are actually performed by women on women.
Well, that's because of the culture that they've been brought up in. It's not because a woman made a conscious decision to say, hey, we're going to do some genital mutilation on my daughter. That's
but
not, they're not making that conscious decision.
They don't even see it as genital mutilation.
Right.
That's right. You know, for them, it's like there's a lot of social pressure too. So they're conforming to social norms.
Right.
But also too, a lot of women genuinely believe that it is a sign of beauty and a sign of cleanliness.
Okay, so that's a bunch of BS. That's BS. Okay, because here in America, and I'm sure it's similar over there, Bernie. Okay, that's why we don't even know what the hell it is, because we don't do that. Okay, Americans in general don't do that unless you're from a particular culture, which you're going to talk about.
Right. Yeah, but that's why it's also coming to more light in Western countries like America and Australia, because with migration, we have obviously got people that are coming into our cultures where we see it as completely abhorrent, and they're coming in here and they're bringing their culture with them. So in their mind, they're going, you know what, that's okay. And what's happening in Australia is that within those minorities, because they know it's illegal over here and it's a criminal charge, they will actually send their daughters back over to their country and have it performed over there where it's not illegal, and then the child comes back over here to Australia.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Is that like a federal law of all the states of Australia, or is that in particular states?
It's outlawed in Australia.
Okay, so it is a federal law, a widespread law.
Yeah. Okay,
So
absolutely.
that's what we have the difference here of the federal law, which would be under like when you hear Trump, okay, that's the federal law. But then every single United state has its own laws also. Okay?
Yeah.
So you have the similar thing?
We have the same. We have the same over here. But in situations like this, it's like it's outlawed. So like you couldn't. It's FGM is not okay in Queensland and not okay in New South Wales. It's just
let me tell you how
Australia.
Messed up the United States is. Okay, the United States is so messed up. We still have states that have adultery as a crime.
Yeah.
Okay, there are so many crimes that are on the books in different states that are just so way back and so out of touch with what's going on currently, and they haven't removed them. So that is not on the books. I don't know about every state, because 50 states is very hard to research. But if someone out there knows, if you're in a state in the United States and you know that mutilating female genitalia is a law and it's a violation of the law, could you please email us at talk@rsvppodcast.com? That would help us a lot if you know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. I'm very proud of you guys for doing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. And we've actually had a couple of cases over the last couple of years where they prosecuted people too, or they've attempted to prosecute people. And that all gets very technical because there's actually 4 different forms of FGM. And
4 forms.
We
got 1 vagina. We got 4 forms.
Yeah, but you've got 4 forms of like removal of it.
All right, what are they?
So, John, have you got that there that you can put up for us? But anyway, while John's finding that, one of the reason that these people ended up getting acquitted was because one of the forms of mutile FGM is that you nick or you cut the clitoris. So you actually don't cut the clitoris off, but you nick it or you cut it. And that's like to do with, there we are. I can't see it. Yeah, so you can see so in stage 1, like they cut off the clitoris, which is a sensitive part of the female genitalia, and or the prepuce, clitoral hood, the fold of skin surrounding the clitoral glands. Type 2 is the partial or total removal of the clitoral glands and the labia minora, so the inner folds of the vulva. So stage 1 is like the external folds. This is the internal folds, with or without removal of the labia. I know. The outer folds of the skin of the vulva. Type 3 is also known as infibulation. This is a narrowing of the vagina opening through the creation of a covering seal. So this is where they actually bring skin and seal over by cutting and repositioning the labia minora or the majora, sometimes through stitching with or without removal of the clitoral prepuce, clitoral hood, and glands. And then type 4, all other harms or procedure to the female genitalia. So that's what I was talking about before, where they'll nick like the clitoris. So the reason why these people ended up getting acquitted in Australia was because they nicked, it was against two little girls, two sisters, they nicked the clitoris, so they didn't actually go and do stage 1, 2 or 3. And so because they still had their clitoris and you could visually be seen, they didn't class it as FGM. So they actually got acquitted of that. But that's what FGM actually... Sorry?
Okay, let me ask you. So would removing the hood of the clitoris, would that be similar to removing the foreskin of the penis?
I guess it is. I mean, I imagine from a physical perspective, it's probably a lot more invasive. And not only that, is what they do with that is like with the hood, because they narrow the vaginal opening. And so they do that to stop women from having extramarital sex or having conception. So
how the hell can they have any sex if they're shut in the opening? How can they even have sex with their husband?
Well, I mean, that's the problem, right? Because so they do this on infants from 0 up to about 15 years of age. So you can imagine that if you've had your vaginal opening like narrowed, like by so much, that when you do go to have sex, how painful that is and the damage that that causes to you. Who have actually said that in the 27 countries that regularly practice FGM, it costs, I think, $1.84 billion a year in treatment for the damage that FGM causes women when they're either, and it's also too like a really big reason why we've got a lot of newborn problems and deaths in those countries, as well as like there are women that can't even menstruate properly because the narrow in their vagina is so small.
And we already have enough problems with that, right? We don't need someone to alter it to make more problems. Okay, because just by itself, there's a lot of problems.
There's a lot of problems there. And I mean, and this stuff dates back to like, because when we're talking about changing that, so obviously like in Western countries in our culture and on an intellectual level, you go like, oh my God, that is just so bad. It's definitely mutilation. Like yes, it used to be called circumcision, but it's definitely mutilation. Like it's definitely abuse. It's definitely abuse of your human rights. Right. And
have you found any medical reason for it?
There's no health benefits to it whatsoever. So zero health benefits.
If there is none, then it is absolutely abuse. Why would you take a normal body and then change it just so that you can hope that they're not having extramarital sex? There's a problem there.
Yeah, there is. And that's why they're calling it gender violence too, because they're saying that what this really is, it's rooted in like patriarchal systems where it's a way of like men having control over women.
Right.
Like, for instance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and is this predominant? Yeah. Is this predominant over in Eurasia or Middle East? Yeah. Where is it predominant? Where's the predominant?
It is like, so you've got like big countries like Africa, obviously, places like Sudan, Asian countries, but it originated in Egypt. So we've actually found Egyptian mummies that have had FGM performed on them. So you're talking about, I guess, a tradition and a belief system that's been ingrained and passed around in these cultures for thousands and thousands of years.
And that's just to control the women. That's literally just to control them so that they don't have extramarital sex or by some other man raping them even. So it keeps them at bay. That's it.
But also too for women not to have any pleasure in sex because that's seen to be dirty, right? Like, so
I have no idea what the hell happened over 2,000 years ago, if the women were having enjoyable or not, or if they were listening to the law of the land where they only had sex when they were going to have children. So there was a time thousands of years ago in the Jewish religion where women would have sex with their husband to get pregnant. That's it. Not to have pleasure like everybody does now.
Yeah.
Okay, it was along the land
that's
at
not,
that time.
yeah, that's not just in Jewish culture too. That's in Christian,
of course,
Christianity. That's what that's about too.
Of course.
But I found this really, really interesting is that in some of these cultures, they actually believe and insist that both forms, so this is like female and male sexual organs be removed. So foreskin for guys, like the male circumcision. And they believe that they do it because they have to do this before a person is accepted as an adult. And it's also widely believed that the clitoris denotes a sense of maleness, right? And that the prepuce, which is the foreskin of the penis, connotes femaleness. So in other words,
what the hell is that? What are you talking about?
Well, what it means is that they believe that the clitoris is a form of like maleness, right? Because, it looks like a little wiener, I guess, so you can see it. And then the foreskin on a man
freaking wiener
is, and the foreskin, yeah, but think about it visually, right? So, and the foreskin on a man was seen to being female because it looks like flaps from a woman, right?
No,
so
I don't see that at all. I disagree 100%. It don't look like no lips on a vagina. What the hell is wrong with you?
I disagree
You're trying to tell me the foreskin on a penis looks like the lips of a vagina? It don't.
What they're saying is that in these cultures,
I don't give a shit about their cultures.
But you can imagine then if that's what
I don't want to imagine. That is just bullshit.
But how hard is that to change in a culture if that's what they're thinking, right?
Okay,
but
I don't know
anyway,
what
that then translates me to like the whole male circumcision thing already.
Yeah,
so because we've got actually men and women in ancient times and through tradition both being genitally mutilated due to religious beliefs, right?
All right. I'll take a minute. I'll take a minute, Bern, and I will say that circumcision in a young male has been going on since the beginning of time, especially in the Jewish tradition and in the Muslim tradition.
That's right.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. In the Jewish tradition, okay, that came from way back where they believed that Abraham made a covenant with God.
Yep.
And I even have the passage out of the Bible where it came from Genesis 17. This is the first time you'll ever see circumcision in the Bible.
Yeah.
And God said to Abraham, "This is my covenant, which you shall keep. Every male child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. And it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you." So that is what it means to the Jewish people. That is the covenant between Abraham and God that has been passed on to his descendants, that they need to perform the circumcision on their children within 8 days. 8 days of the birth of the child, the male child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's their religious transition.
Yeah.
And tradition.
That's their religious thing. I mean, with FGM, right, obviously there are zero health benefits and it's completely abhorrent and it's all about power and control. But in the society with some of the women, they believe that it's about beauty too. And so I guess that's where trying to change those thoughts and those patterns over time is definitely going to take, God knows how many years. On a good note, so Sudan was actually one of the biggest countries in the world that performed FGM. And on the 6th of May this year, they've had a new government come into power over there, and they've actually decided that the new government, that they're going to outlaw FGM in Sudan. So it's now going to become a criminal. Yeah, it's huge. Like it's huge. So for, gender violence activists, it's like this massive thing because now it's actually going to become a criminal offence over there. It's still got to pass through whatever their level of parliament is. But on the 6th of May, that's what they put up. And
phenomenal.
But everybody that's in, I know. good on them, right? But everybody that's involved in FGM says that our biggest battle is not really changing the laws, it's changing the cultural beliefs around why they're doing FGM in the first place. And that's only going to be coming with education and, you know, getting out there and changing women's beliefs around why this is seen to be necessary.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, because it's been thousands of years that they've been used to this. Okay, they have to be educated so they can understand why a woman should be whole and not have to be mutilated, okay, just to protect them from having sex with another man other than their spouse.
Yeah. But also, too, I mean, one of the other reasons is that they believe that it preserves marriage because men will not they actually see women who are intact, so all of their genitalia are intact, as dishonorable prostitutes.
Oh, so for Christ's sakes, please. Okay, this is ridiculous. Okay, ridiculous, okay?
I know.
Look, if you want to be in a marriage, you need to love each other. Okay, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
You love each other. Okay, we're not selling people for money to get married. Okay, we're not having the dowry. We're not selling you at 10 years old. Okay, that shit is all over. Okay, please.
I know. So it's good on Sudan for doing
good on
that.
Sudan.
And
good for you.
And good on everybody that's, you know, been activating and agitating towards this for years and years and years, because those sort of changes don't come overnight.
All right, I want to talk to you why I believe in circumcision.
Yeah. In male
I know you're against it, but I believe in it.
Yeah, off you go. May the force be with you.
The force is with me. Now, according to the National Institute of Health here in the United States, there have been over 40 studies that have been conducted on men that were circumcised or not circumcised. All right. And there has been significant protection against contracting the HIV virus and other sexual transmitted diseases by men who have been circumcised. There's been a compelling study in Uganda where they brought in couples, okay, one being the wife who had AIDS, HIV. The male partner did not. That was part of the study. So the woman had contracted HIV. The male did not have HIV.
Yeah.
And they did this study over 30 months. That's 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And they found that the male partners, 50 of them who were not circumcised, excuse me, they were circumcised, okay? The males that were circumcised did not contract HIV in the 30 months they did this study, having sex with their partners.
Yeah.
In the meantime, 40 of the 137 uncircumcised men did become infected with the HIV virus.
Yeah.
So, having a male circumcised has an extreme health benefit in the prevention of the HIV virus.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing about is that is it considered, though, an act of violence because it's against your human rights, because you are doing it to an infant, either 1 or 2 days old for Western culture, 8 days for Jewish culture based on religious reasons. So are you violating someone's right when you are cutting off a piece of themselves that they were naturally born with for a reason without their consent?
Bernie, I get what you're saying. Okay, but we don't have a vaccine for HIV. It can be deadly. HIV can be prevented through, like we're doing, like with a virus. Sure, don't have sex at all, and you don't have to worry about getting HIV.
You can use condoms if you.
Yeah, okay, so you know how that goes. Really? You don't wear a condom, either do I. But I don't think men like to wear a condom.
I don't wear a condom because I don't have a wiener.
Oh, exactly. exactly. I don't either. But I know men don't like to wear a condom. And men, specifically gay men, have a lot of sex. And they want to have natural sex. Even men who are traditionally with a woman, they want to have natural sex.
Yeah, but having you like being circumcised is not the cure for HIV.
It's not the cure for it, but it's a great preventative for it. So if I knew my son, Bernie,
the only way that they cannot get HIV is by wearing condoms, correct?
Let me tell you something. The only way you're not going to get HIV is if you have no sex and you don't inject drugs with dirty needles. That's how you're not going to get HIV.
That's right. So
that ain't happening. That's just not going to happen.
But I don't think that you can argue then that male circumcision.
Yes, I can.
Like
I just gave 40 studies,
saying,
Vern.
I know. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying though is that it's a violation of your rights. You do not.
What
get
are you
to
talking about?
That.
We're protecting these children from developing the HIV virus. It's proven clinical
protecting people
data.
From HIV virus means you've got to do a lot more than be circumcised. Circumcision and prevention of HIV is like about this much of what you've got to do.
No, I disagree.
I don't agree that you're going to be able to hang the whole thing like, okay, you know what? If it's my body and my choice, and we do that, we bang on about that as women all the time. My body, my choice, right? So you don't walk down the street and put your hand on my ass because it's my body and
let's
my
just
choice.
Get down to the bottom line. Have you ever had sex with a man who was not circumcised?
No. But can I tell you that it's not something that I actually think about? But it's not. But what does that prove?
Well, I'm just telling you. That's because of the high amount of men that are being circumcised.
That just proves that we blindly are walking into things, because I put this question out to a group of people that I knew this week, right? Because my thing about it is that, like, so we believe all of these statistics that are put out there. We don't really know how much of it is true or not. In Western culture, it's completely accepted that we do male circumcision. We don't really think about it as a violation of rights, right? So I'm thinking, but would I really want that done to my body? And the answer would be, no, I would not choose to have that done to my body. So I put it out there to these people.
That's just in general. What happens if you knew that you would have a risk for contracting the HIV virus if you were gay or if you were a drug addict?
Risk of contracting the HIV virus anyway.
No, listen to me. In the studies, they found, and this is clinical scientific data that they found, the inner surface of the foreskin of the penis contains cells that act as receptors towards the AIDS virus, and the AIDS virus cells connect to the receptors, and it is the number one place where a male develops the HIV virus is in their penis.
Are you going to go and have your cervix removed because we all know that we can develop cancer cells in your cervix?
Not even appropriate to what I just said.
It is.
I'm talking about the foreskin of a freaking dick. Yeah. Okay. No, the foreskin has the cells on it.
Says you who don't have to have it cut off.
Listen, if it was a medical something that would prevent me from getting the coronavirus or some other virus, I'll think about it.
I'm all for that. So why not let people have the choice of that then?
Why let them suffer? It gets worse as you get older. It's just like getting your goddamn tonsils out. The older you are, the harder and more complicated it is. When you're an infant, it's easier.
I want to read some stats to you, my love.
Go ahead.
So the WHO actually says that it's effective in reducing HIV, right? So let
me tell you how I feel about the WHO right now. Okay.
I know. It decreases UTIs. It reduces the risk of STIs. It's protection against penile cancer, and also reduces the risk of cervical cancer in partners of people, right? So I'm not doubting the health benefits. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's the surgical removal of foreskin tissue covering the head of the penis. Normally performed 1 to 2 days after birth. Jewish population, it's performed on the 8th day.
Right? Okay.
The risks are, so the origins are it's far older than the biblical accounts. So genital mutilation, which is what it used to be called, began as a way to purify individuals and society by reducing sexual pleasure, hence cutting away the pleasure-producing parts as they were seen as dirty. So this is what in the biblical
that's
times,
a bunch of boo-boo shit. That's a bunch of crap.
So the foreskin is now,
come on, Bert.
get this, the foreskin in men is now known as the principal location of erogenous sensation.
Have you talked to a man that has his foreskin? Does he tell you that it's his number one primary source of adrenaline frickin' pleasure?
Well, like I said, I put this stuff
we
out
got to
there
ask
to
a man. If you're out there and you have
No,
your
he
foreskin.
said it was not.
If you have your foreskin,
John's
send us an email.
John's saying no. He said it was not. But I
There's
tell you what.
There's a lot of debate over that, Bern.
Yeah,
a lot of men say it hasn't changed their sexual activity or their pleasureness at all.
And there's a lot of men that say that it do. So let's get some facts on that. Let's get people calling in. What I'm saying, though, it's still a violation of your rights. Do you agree to that?
I don't agree.
I don't agree to it. So I know you don't agree. So we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
All right, fine.
I want to read out some of the comments, though, because like I said, I put this question out there this week, right? So I'm going to read it. And one of them is actually from a guy. And can I say to you that in the responses that I got, which was like from about 30 different people, the overwhelming response was probably 95% of people, women, saying that they think that it's a violation of rights. And this is some women that had actually had children and they've actually had their sons circumcised and regretted it and wish that they hadn't. And then it's from...
Well, what did their sons say? Who gives a crap what they say? What did their sons say?
One of them says that, let me have a look here.
I mean, come on.
So...
It's the son that's having the circumcision, not the woman.
Just chill out, woman. Otherwise, I'll come at you with a pair of scissors. How are you going to feel like about that?
I don't know. Are you just going to tweak it, or are you going to pull off my foreskin?
So the question that I asked is, do you think that male circumcision and female circumcision, like IEFGM, are both acts of violence? Why is one more accepted in society over the other? So we've got one person here and she said, it's very invasive and most of the time unnecessary. Good penis care taught at a young age will hold them in good stead for life. As for female circumcision, that's completely unnecessary and barbaric.
Okay, she don't know what the hell she's talking about because she's not a guy. Okay, who the hell is she? What the hell does she know?
She's got male children.
I don't give a crap. She don't know.
This is another mother. So I was very against circumcision for my son after very little research. There was nothing proving that it was in any way medically necessary. Thankfully, my husband, now ex, agreed. Neither her or her husband are circumcised, and none of them have had any of the issues, the health issues that you're talking about.
Okay, she didn't do any research either. Okay, because she didn't look up the HIV prevention. Oh, please.
And then this is another one. So this is from Lynn, and she's gone, my son has said he's happy he's circumcised. It has no psychological effects from it, and he mocks comments that suggest that it's a bad thing. What I'm saying, though,
I've seen some penises with their foreskin, okay? I've seen them when I was on the ambulance and working, okay? Those guys didn't care. They came to me because they had an infection. Infections are very common with foreskin on the penis. Why the hell would you want all these damn infections? And the likelihood of getting a sexually transmitted disease. Or
I'm not talking about that. You're translating
what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about that they're being what?
It's a violation of your rights. Your body, your choice. Do you get a choice to do that? The answer is no.
Okay, you want to wait till they're 25 when it hurts more.
But at least for them. At least for them. And do you know what? Like, this is why America, God bless it, Like they've got the largest rate of male circumcision.
Well, I don't know what
really
freaking statistics you're looking at, but we're not number one. I have down that we're 77%, where the Middle East is 80%.
Is what? 80%. Yeah, but 77%. Jesus, woman.
Well,
so what 80%
I'd like to do is let's in the Middle East. Throw this.
I love this sort of stuff because it's so contentious. This has been a contentious argument, debate, whatever you want to call it, since the beginning of time, right? So I am loving it. So if anybody has got their opinion on this, for God's sake, email us at what is it? Talk at rsvp.podcast.com.
RSVP podcast.
Because I want to hear from it. I want to hear from you guys.
We're taking their rights away when they're 3 hours old. Come on, Bern.
You are.
Come on, Bernie.
You are.
It's healthier. It's healthier for them. It was different in the friggin' before Christ. Okay? We're in 2020.
I mean, just because something happened before Christ doesn't mean that you need to carry the friggin' thing on now.
But yes, right? Of course.
Doesn't mean that it's a good thing.
No. You gotta keep people healthy. No. It's all about disease.
And you know what? What about the rest of the population then? Like, your 30-odd% of men that are running around with foreskins. I would like to hear from those 33%.
I want a man with foreskin to please call us. Send us your damn email. Men with foreskin, please. Shut her up.
If you've got a foreskin,
foreskin, please email us. I'm finding somebody just to shut you up.
Foreskin wanted. I think we should put an ad up.
No.
We'll do it on Facebook. We'll do it
all right.
Oh,
all right. Listen.
I'm starting.
We're never going to be able to agree. We'll just agree to disagree.
We're not.
Okay.
Come on, let's move on. All
right. We agree to disagree. I want to give you the stat of the day. Can I give you the stat of the day?
Oh yeah, go on. Off you go.
All right. Okay, I'm going to give you the top 3 surgeries, the most common surgeries in the United States. You give me the number 4th. Okay. Number 1 is cataracts.
Boob jobs. Cataracts?
No. Let me read them to you. Hold on. Cataracts is number 1. Cesarean deliveries are number 2. And joint replacements are number 3. What's the 4th most common surgery in the United States?
Oh, circumcision?
You little bitch. Yes.
Yeah. And that just proves my friggin' point.
Oh, what?
It's just like this kind of blind acceptance thing. I'm telling you, you 3% of American males out there that have still got you fully intact with your foreskin. I want you to email us at talk@rsvppodcast.com because I want to hear your side of the story.
Fine. I hope to God I'll find someone for you.
John, have you got anything funny there now that we've fired each other up?
We have funny. We have funny with about circumcisions. We got plenty. All right, go ahead, Bern. What is this?
See this here? This poor bugger here, right? He actually had his wiener chopped off when he went in for a circumcision. I mean, how does a doctor
That's an asinine doctor. That's an asinine doctor.
How does a doctor even do that? So
you know nowadays they have to sign their name.
His name is.
They have to sign their name now on where they're going to do the surgery so that they know where the hell they're going to do surgery.
You're kidding.
No, yes. All over the world. That's what they do now. They have to sign their name.
You've got to sign. If you're going to have like your foreskin lopped off, you got to sign your name on it.
Exactly.
My point. How can a baby then sign its own name?
All right, the baby
You're
don't.
Screwed.
Come on.
You're screwed.
Stop it. You're being crazy.
You're screwed.
You're going crazy, woman. Freaking Australian crazy woman. Never mind. We got another one. I got a good one. That's another one here. Look at this one. This is freaking great.
I know.
We got the sushi chef here. Okay?
Yeah.
The sushi chef is phenomenal. He's going to do the circumcision. Okay?
Well, I think poor old bloody Lee, in that last picture, I think that he had the sushi chef doing that there. There was no doctor. Huh?
Listen, sushi
Maybe-
chefs are pretty damn good. You ever been to
Oh, yeah,
hibachi? You know what
they're
hibachi is?
Yeah. Like they do the whole chop stop shui and they do it all in
That's
front of you.
right. It's a great
Yeah,
show.
I
Those
know.
guys are awesome with a
You know
knife.
what? I can't even. Now I've got a visual. The next time I go and bloody see Teppanyaki, all I'm going to see is like, knives going this way and foreskins running all over the place.
There you go. They know what they're doing.
Oh, my God. All right.
All
Come
right.
on. What else have we got?
We'll table this, okay, till we have our emails, okay?
Yes. Well, this is like, what is it called? To be continued. TBC, people.
Continue.
TBC.
Yeah. All right. Deal.
Yeah, righto.
Good.
You're on.
All right. Let's move on to the next topic. We're going to talk about the craziness in the United States of America. What's going on with George Floyd and the protests. Look at this picture. This is a picture of thousands of people in Minnesota. And they have some of the people that committed arson. They have burned the buildings in Minneapolis, including, that's the police precinct. That's the police station, Bernie. They have burned down buildings and the police station in response to the death of George Floyd. Now, George Floyd is a 46-year-old man who went into a convenience store and allegedly passed a $20 counterfeit bill to purchase frickin' cigarettes, okay? The man in the convenience store called 911 and told them this. And they told him that the man was not acting right. There was something wrong with him. They gave him the license plate of their car and told them they were parked across the street. The police came to the store, talked to the man in the store, went and approached the car and took George out of the car. And for some reason, they brought him back over to the sidewalk. He sat down by the wall. Then they took him across the street and by the police car. That is when the officer had him on the ground in handcuffs. And he kneeled on his neck with his knee in handcuffs under arrest. And the man was telling him that he couldn't breathe. It was hard to breathe. And the cop didn't get up. He did not let up. And the paramedics had to be called. And George Floyd, unfortunately, due to this incident, died. And Minnesota has been in total chaos since Memorial Day for us, which was May 25th on Monday.
I mean, I just find it so hard to believe. I think the differences in Australia and America are really pronounced when you see stuff like this happening. I don't understand how we can have a cop that's got a man handcuffed, face down, and when you hear the footage, I mean, it's distressing because you can hear him telling them that he can't breathe. There's a whole crowd of people around that are saying the same thing. There's another, 3 cops is there? Like in the arrest, etc. So there was 4 of them all together.
That we know of, yes.
Yeah, so that you know of. So you've got this whole bunch of people around this man who's prostrate on the ground in handcuffs, and the majority can see that he's in distress. And the cop who's got his knee on the back of his neck for 10 minutes just continues to do it. Like, I don't understand from a human aspect, I don't understand it. And then from like a power and authority perspective, like obviously being a cop, how there is not something that in your brain with all that noise and all that melee going on around you that you just don't go, you know what, I'm harming this person here. Like what is that? What the fuck is that?
All right. So I don't know the exact amount of time. It was definitely over 5 minutes that the officer had his knee in George's neck. I don't know where that officer learned that procedure to do that, because I never learned that. All the police officers I talked to never learned that. That's not something that we are taught in self-defense or in restraining someone. George was handcuffed. Okay, he was handcuffed.
Yeah,
there really
was
wasn't much
restrained.
that man could do.
Yeah.
And he was on the ground in a prone position, face down, stomach down.
So he
What
was
the hell
handcuffed with
could
his
he
hands
do?
behind his back, right?
Yeah, hands behind his back in handcuffs. There's not much the man could do. And for this officer to put his knee in his neck for that extended period of time, the man was telling him that he couldn't breathe. Now, I can tell
you can hear
there have been many times I've seen myself personally where people would tell me that they were having a problem breathing. People would tell me their handcuffs were too tight just to get away, to try to run away.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are people that lie. I'm not saying that Mr. Lloyd lied, but I'm just saying it happens. I'm not condoning what the officer did because I've never learned that before. I've never done something like that. Okay. That is literally putting a great deal of force on a person's neck with their vessels, the large vessels in their neck that bring oxygen to their body, the body parts, their heart and their lungs, right?
But I mean, imagine that yourself, right? Like you're laying on the ground, right? And someone's got their knee here, right? So, and you've got like the ground here. So you can imagine what that's like because you've got this force here and you've got this down like that. I mean, what did he think was going to happen to him? At the very least, he would have passed out.
Well, right. There are many chokeholds. With the purpose of to disrupt the flow of oxygen to the brain. That's the purpose of a chokehold, is to disrupt the flow of oxygen to the brain. It causes a person to pass out. And with Mr. Floyd, if he had his head turned on the sidewalk, he would have part of his neck on the sidewalk and part of his neck being pressured with the knee of the officer. So when doing that, there is a great likelihood that he would pass out or that he could have grave injury or the possibility of death. Why the officer continued to do that after he was handcuffed, I don't know. I'm not here to judge the officer whatsoever.
The officers that were with him.
Exactly. Well, that too.
What, you think that as a human being, like you can't see someone in distress and see somebody who's maybe lost control of himself and just go, you know what, that's wrong, like, and just push him off or push him away or get him off him or whatever it is. Or, you know, there were three other of them. They could have like lifted Floyd up off the ground, correct?
Oh, look, there's a million things they could have done. I'm not here to be a Monday quarterback. That's a line we say here after we watch the game on Sunday, okay? But when you see someone doing something like that, you know it can cause great harm to the person or even death because they could choke out and die. All that would need to be done is simple thing is to just say, look, man, let's get him in the car and get out of here. We got a crowd gathering. You don't even have to talk about what the guy is doing. Right? Let's get him out of here. Why did they need to stay there? I don't know what the point was of staying there for so long. You already have him handcuffed and arrested for the allegedly passing the counterfeit bill to the guy at the convenience store. Take him in. Let's go. You got a lot of paperwork to do. I can tell you that there's a lot of paperwork to do.
But now what you guys have got over there is like a racial war.
Well, that's the other thing.
That's what it looks like.
It drives me crazy, okay? They always make it racial when it's a white officer and a black victim. I don't care if that victim was black, white, yellow, brown, or green, or whatever color. What the officer did for that length of time was absolutely wrong. It doesn't matter what color the person was. Act was wrong. Why do we got to make it racial? Just let's get to the cop and what he did, and let's arrest him, which they did today. They arrested him today.
I heard that.
They arrested him for murder in the third degree and for manslaughter. They didn't state what degree of manslaughter. Minnesota does have several degrees of manslaughter. I looked at it. I don't know what they did. I would think it was manslaughter in the second degree, but I'll let you know what that is. So it manslaughter in the second degree in Minnesota.
Third degree, John's saying.
Okay. A person who causes the death of another by any of the following is guilty of manslaughter in the second degree. And the number one caption is by the person's culpable negligence, whereby the person creates an unreasonable risk and consciously takes chances of causing death or great bodily harm to another. That makes a lot of sense of what happened there. Okay. We're talking about culpable negligence. So that you have to add two parts to that. You have to have the person's mental state. Did that officer consciously put his knee on his neck on purpose, knowing that it could cause irreparable great bodily injury or death to that
wouldn't you know
person?
that?
Absolutely.
Like,
yes.
Is that not just a basic human, like, Jesus, if I go and do this, you don't have to be a cop to know that,
in the United States court, we look at that as a reasonable person, a peer. So as being a police officer previously myself, I could certainly say yes. If I had put my knee in someone's neck for that long, over 5 minutes of time, could that have caused irreparable damage or death to that person? Absolutely, yes. I could say that as a reasonable person in the same place as that officer.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second part is doing the act, which he did. So it makes a lot of sense. We're talking about with the murder in the third degree, they could be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 25 years. And with manslaughter in the second degree, it's imprisonment of not more than 10 years. And there are fines for both of them. So what's going to happen is they're going to have to sit in front of a grand jury and present the evidence to them to see if they can go to trial for those charges. And based on just the video, the 911 call, and whatever other witnesses, I certainly think they have enough probable cause to go to trial for that. Now, they did not arrest the other three officers today. They are gathering more evidence. And for the officers that we saw on the video that did nothing, just stood there knowing that this man was in danger of having serious injury or death, there has to be a charge.
When you see that and you hear that, right? Like, I understand why it's turned into a racial scenario, because I mean, if you're a black person or any person watching that, I don't know about you, but it makes me feel angry. Like, I feel angry about it, right?
Well, Bernie, why do you care if it's a black person, a white person, a yellow or a brown? Who cares?
But if I don't care, but if I was a black person and I was watching that, and if I was seeing the male, like the other cops around it, I'm not saying that what they're doing now, looting and burning and all of that kind of shit, because I mean, that's just like using, I think, some poor man's death for your own gain.
Exactly. They're using it to their advantage, which is BS.
And not only that, would they not be damaging their own people? Like the stores and stuff they're burning down, would that not be black people's businesses and stuff too?
It could be, of course.
Like, I mean, it's, or are they just burning down businesses, including the police precinct, because it's white? So are they targeting?
Well, I'll tell you what, there was one business, I don't know who it was, but they wrote in spray paint outside, "We are a minority business." And that place did not get touched. Okay.
And what do they mean by we're a minority business? That mean, they're saying we're black?
Maybe. Like, maybe they're black. Maybe they're Chinese. Maybe they're Muslim. Maybe they're women. All minorities, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Either way, they didn't get touched.
Well, what's happening over there now? Because it seems like now we've got, I don't know, in America, it seems like the whole racial tension thing is just underneath the surface. So every time something happens.
Bernie, this has been going on for like 100, ever since slavery. I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of it. Not everybody feels that way, okay? I don't feel that way. I treat everybody the same. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion you have. I don't care what your ethnicity is. You're the same to me. I look at you as a human being. I could care less what the hell is going on.
Me too. Like, I don't care if you're pink or you're purple or bloody.
I don't care. So, a lot of people feel that way.
I don't see people in color.
No, me neither.
But I find it really, really interesting, though, about these people that do. And by that, I mean, I'm saying black people see us as white too. I actually find it offensive if people say to me, oh, you're a white fella.
Yeah.
Like, I find that offensive because you know what? I don't see myself as white. I see myself as a bloody human being.
That's all. But unfortunately, they've taken it a step further, and they're using this situation as an advantage to commit crimes. They're burning buildings down. They're looting all kinds of businesses. I mean, a friggin' like Target or a Dollar General or something.
Yeah,
they just broke in and they're stealing everything. They're committing crimes. Don't commit any crimes. You're not going to get anywhere by doing that. That's ridiculous.
So,
come on,
what's actually going to happen there? Because I know that's happening in the precinct in the city itself. What's happening around the rest of the
the governor called the National Guard. So the National Guard is there now to help calm the city and prevent this crime that is just widespread. The police department didn't have enough resources. They burned their building.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they had to call in the National Guard to try to calm what's going down. A lot of protests are happening throughout the country. They're bringing up past cases, of where it was a white cop and a black victim, unfortunately. And people are just protesting all over the place. So there's a lot of hatred and violence. And I'm sure it has to do with the COVID virus because nobody's been allowed out. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. But I'm hoping that people will come to their senses and act like human beings and stop committing crimes and go forward with this in a very different manner. Let's be constructive with your feelings instead of committing crimes yourself.
Instead of being destructive too. I tell you what, though, I would really love to talk to somebody who's got these views around colour, whether you're black or whether you're orange or yellow or you're white. I would really love to actually have someone on the show that could come forward in a completely open forum and give your opinions about why you actually have those beliefs. So if there's anybody out there that wants to come on and do that, email us at talk@rsvppodcast.com because I think it would be an amazing opportunity to do it.
Well, great show, Bern, as always.
Thanks,
and
love.
I look forward to next week, darling. Take care, love.
Ciao. Bye.
Welcome to R.S.V.P. Listen to the show at your own risk. We will be discussing all taboo subjects like religion, sex, violence, and even politics. You should be ready for controversy, disagreements, face-offs, and maybe some downright rumbles. Well, sit tight and get ready for this week's episode. And by the way, if you're squeamish about obscenities, don't listen to our fucking show!